We're back on the Sports View where we solve all the world's problems. We're talking about golf here, and the issue now is golf a sport? I say no. I think I may be the dissenting view among all of us.
And how do you
here.
justify that it's no?
Well, and that's the key. That's the key.
That is the
what,
key.
He can't.
No, what constitutes sport? So is sport simply a competition between two people or two teams? To me, it involves an athletic competition where you have to have athleticism and some sort of physical fitness involved, and golf doesn't fall. I love golf. I think it's a great activity.
And you're
but
an
I don't
athlete,
think it's a sport.
and you play it.
Well, I'm probably not an athlete, but I do play golf.
Well, here's what I think. It's a $76 billion industry, which doesn't necessarily make it a sport. But in the early Olympics, it was a sport. They took it out of the Olympics for, 112 years. Now they're putting it back in as a sport in 2016. Do you think maybe that the game has changed and is now a sport? Because you've got Tiger Woods, which started this whole thing that we're talking about. His athleticism, these guys are in the gym. Not all of them, but some of them are. And a $76 billion entity is not a sport?
No, not to me, no.
Well, I mean, you look at the definition of sport right here, one of them. Physical activity governed by a set of rules. So golf is a physical activity governed by a set of rules. And there's a lot of sports that you can say, are they sports or not? I know NASCAR and race car driving gets a lot of that as well. So I think getting on the golf course, you're exerting energy. It takes a certain, level of focus. You don't have to be very good at it, but
Well, no, like one of the things we talked about off camera earlier was like you always say, "Oh, Craig Stadler, he's a heavier man."
I don't mean to single people out, but there are
but
people.
that was a
But
long
you're saying
time ago.
He's not
But you could-
athletic.
come on.
John Daly is maybe a little out of shape, but he was big when he was younger. I could name you 100 guys.
Yeah.
William the Refrigerator Perry is a football player. He was huge, 350
in football,
pounds.
you have to maintain.
CC Sabathia, 6'7", 350.
This is good. This is
In
really
football,
good.
you have to maintain a level of fitness. Otherwise, you can't play. Ask Albert Hainsworth about that. Otherwise, you can't play. Let me go over why I don't think golf requires any real athleticism. You go
Is
out
walking
there.
a sport?
Is walking a sport? No, walking's an activity. But if we want to go that way, is billiards a sport?
How about bowling?
You could be really in shape and you could be really fit, but does that make you an athlete if you're a billiards player?
Okay, so female athlete of the year for 24 times has been a golfer.
To me, that doesn't make it a sport. Now,
Are you
this is-
calling chicks wrong?
Well, athlete versus sport, is that
Okay,
different?
look, we've run out of time here, but it's just starting to get good. It's just starting to get good. So we're going to continue this conversation over at sportsedge.com. And if I were you, I'd tune over there and watch me dominate these guys on this
Please.
on this topic. For now, you're on television. We're going to get you in shape, a little physical activity
It's a
with our
sport.
fitness
Sport.
contributor. Okay, now back to this. Is billiards a sport? What if Minnesota Flats was the athlete of the year? By the way, who's determining athlete of the year? You want to take it from Sports Illustrated? When Sports Illustrated first started, it was a magazine all about outdoor stuff. It was a magazine about hunting and fishing. Is fishing a sport?
Okay, you're changing the topic. We're not talking about billiards. We're talking about golf. And it's a
No,
sport.
but you said the female athlete of the year
has
was
been a golfer for
given
24
by who?
times.
And I'm saying it was probably
The
given by
Associated Press.
Sports Illustrated.
Associated Press.
Okay.
And Sports Illustrated, which of course.
Okay, and what
sports.
if the female athlete of the year was an archer? What if the female
But it
athlete?
hasn't been. I'm just pointing out that it was 24 times they picked a
He's
golfer.
trying to get off topic. Don't you
Yes,
see
I
that?
know. So could you?
He has no defense in golf, so he's trying to change
I'm
the
listening.
subject.
That's all I'm
To
gonna
me, you can be physically unfit. You cannot be at all physically fit, and you could be a really good golfer. We've seen it.
And baseball player.
Well, I
True,
don't know about that.
true. Have you
Are
seen
there
some of
many?
these
I think
baseball players?
Was Babe Ruth
as a whole?
He was
tip-top
huge.
shape?
I don't
Babe
think
Ruth
so.
was in pretty darn good shape.
Cecil Fielder.
Yeah. John Kruk is another one
John
we talked
Kruk.
about. He's a great hitter.
Oh, sure,
of
now
those
you're
guys,
quiet.
all of those guys were in pretty good shape, and I bet if any of those guys raced the average person,
David Wells.
they'd be faster.
So if
David
Babe
Wells.
Ruth, John Kruk, CC Sabathia, and Craig Stadler, your guy, got in a race, I mean, who do you think would win that?
Okay, let's take it as a general rule. If you are not in good shape, you can be a really good golfer. As a general rule, if you're not in good shape, you're not going to be a very good baseball player, you're not going to be a very good basketball player, you're not going to be a very good football player, you're not going to be a very good, probably, NASCAR driver. There are a lot of places where you're not going to excel if you're not in good shape. However, in golf, I mean, it was
But
just
it's
a couple
coming
years
around.
ago. And just a couple years ago, we're going to talk about recent times, Tom Watson, who's in his 50s, nearly won the British Open.
Because he's an athlete. Because
Not because he's an athlete, because he's a good golfer.
He's in good shape.
It's not because he's in good shape.
You don't
It's
think
because
he's in good shape?
I don't know what kind of shape he's in, but it's not because he's in good shape. If you excel as a golfer, it's not because you're in good shape.
Let me-
It's because you're a good golfer.
Let me-
That's the way it's always been. It's not a physically demanding
Let me bring
activity.
this full circle.
Please.
We're bringing this up because Tiger Woods, 3 days before the U.S. Open,
Right.
does a Nike commercial, and it says, golf is a sport.
Or bring out this athlete in you or something.
Correct.
Yeah.
Whatever it is for Nike. Which, to bring it full circle, do you think that the game, if you want to call it in your world,
Activity,
a
yes.
game, activity,
It's an activity, yeah.
do you think it has changed, that it is more athletic, more sports-like than it was in 1900?
Well, and Tiger Woods, I think, has changed that because when he came into the game, he was so good, so powerful. He did work out, and you see a lot of guys now following that
Scott,
same.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah, I mean, I
same-
think you've seen that in a lot of activities or sports where people have gotten
Activity.
into where people have gotten into better shape. But let's face it, these guys who are playing golf at the professional level are wearing slacks. They're wearing a collared shirt.
What does that have
and
to do
they're,
with
well,
anything?
I'm just saying, and they're wearing shoes that look like wingtips. They look like they're going to a board meeting. How could you be playing a sport and consider yourself an athlete when you're dressing like that for competition?
No,
Doesn't
as a
make any
dress
sense.
is, and you're
Gang
email
up on him.
it is.
Email him.
And I love golf, but
Well,
think about it. The attire is even. It says everything but athletes. It says everything but sports.
The
It's-
Olympics is putting it back in.
The Olympics has a
2016.
lot of things that you probably don't consider a sport, or at least many people don't consider a
change
sport.
the subject.
No. I'm going. Just because it's in the Olympics doesn't make it a sport, and just because a magazine or a publication or the Associated Press gives out its sports person of the year, that doesn't make it.
Do you think
a
we're going to
sport.
agree to disagree here?
No, I'm going to convince you that it's not a sport.
Good luck. We'll be
I
here
gotta
all
get
night.
going.
We
have Paul
got
Bruce
things we
on.
got to do, yeah.
All right. Well, the good thing is that we all work together, so we have time to do that convincing. But thank you for joining us here on Sports Edge. Hey, send in your comments. We'd love to hear what you
this is
think.
gonna be
it
good.
Is it a sport?
Is hot talking?
Hate
Don't
mail
be
right
too
there.
brutal.